Hi, I'm Phil from Driftworks. This is my buddy Jay, and this is my E30 M3. And today, you're going to have the pleasure of Jay's company while he fits this massively upgraded Mk3 Clio electric power steering.
Time to upgrade the power steering on this. This is Mk3 Clio and it's getting overpowered, and it's been getting overpowered by the sticky tyres and the quick steering for a couple of years. Apparently the fix is Mk3 Clio power steering. Problem is they're quite different. This one was quite easy to fit. This one not so much. I'll get all this lot out and we'll see where we are. The size difference is even more obvious now. This one was quite stripped down from what I remember. It's been quite a few years since we fitted it, but it's quite slim. This thing, don't know. I think I'm just going to start removing all the brackets. We don't need the reach adjustment anymore. So I'll get it stripped down as far as I can and we'll see what we're left with. Now we're getting somewhere. This, I'm not going to put it straight in the bin in case we need some of the shaft, but pretty sure we don't need any of that. This is starting to look a lot more manageable. It's got some nice mounting tabs as well, so let's wobble it about in space and see if it looks like it's going to fit anywhere. I've made a temporary little washer brackety thing there just to hang it. It looks like it's going to be possible at this point, but it's very low. This is interfering here and we need the column to line up with that, so yeah. More fiddling and head scratching is needed. Phil's been out and had a look and there's a bit of a redesign going on. So I've messed up because there needs to be some surgery to this bracket here. So I'm going to chop that off. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. You may have noticed that it's turned around. It's turned around many times since you last saw it, but this is a position that we are, well, hopefully committed to now. I've made a more permanent bracket at the back there to hold the back, which gives it a little bit of up and down movement before I make the front bracket, which is going to come off these 4 points here and go up to the column. I had to trim a little bit off the bottom of the column there, which is why the car's all masked up, because the last thing you want is grinder in your windscreen. Ask me how I know. And I've got adjustment here for depth in and out at the moment. So this is the standard bearing carrier off the old column, which is now in a lot more pieces. This would have been the reach adjustment on the standard wheel, but I'm going to make a bracket to come off there so we can set the depth once the boss turns up. So I know that it needs to be 585mm from the floor, 220mm from that point. So that puts the wheel, and in line with this, that puts the wheel exactly where it was when I took it apart, because we know how Phil is when it comes to millimetres of seats and wheels. It's been decided that before we go any further mounting the unit on the car, we better make sure that the lower column clears. So I've been around to see Dad and he's made me a DIY column kit. All I've got to do is set the length and stick it all together. We'll start with this bottom half. I've got air and a wet rag available to try and stop the actual UJ bit from overheating. Once that's done, I'll stick it in the car and we'll set the length on the top piece. First pass, I'm going to go around that a couple more times and build this up. There's another pass around it. Don't really want to put any more heat in this if I can help it, but I've welded the plugs up. I've welded that. I'm pretty confident it's not going to fall off. Pretty confident. And there we go, it's one piece. Let's go and try it in the car. That'll do. It's time to work on this front bracket now, or bracket. I'm going to muddle my way through this. I am no master when it comes to CAD, but so far I've managed to draw that. I've printed it. I'm going to cut it out a little bit and just check that my measurements were somewhere near before we move on to making it mount to the car. So Phil's just been in and educated me about scaling a print, which I didn't really think about. Just thought printers outputted the right size. Turns out they don't. So I've done that now. I've got 3 of the holes working out quite nicely. This one here just needs nudging down by about 1 millimetre, I guess. I'll try that, print again. Hopefully we can move on to the next bit. I'm happy that works now. So, moving on, I need to figure out a way to draw a bracket which goes from those 4 points that I've just drawn up to the column. Obviously, just to make it even more difficult, nothing is in line. Or at least I don't think it is. I need to take some more measurements and then figure out how difficult this is going to be. After what feels like about 6,000 tries, I'm finally somewhere near ready for a test cut. Still got to add 2 tabs at the top there so we can mount it on the top bolt holes, but we're not a million miles away now. I was just going to come and see you. I've drawn it.
Yeah.
I was just going to come and see if we can try and cut the thing.
Is this all one contour on the outside?
No.
It needs to, well, it needs to be like one line. I sort of try and cut it in sections.
Oh, all right, hang on. After quite a lot more struggling, we're going to give this a go.
We haven't drawn it as a complete item.
I don't know what I'm doing. It's half the problem.
Well, not right, really.
No, we've battled our way through and we've managed to get to the point where we can cut.
It's infuriating because it shows it like that shows there as you can zoom in as much as you like.
It shows it as a solid line.
It shows it as a solid line, but when you come to cut it, it shows gaps. And I just don't know how. Because it shows that as 1 part, 2 part, but you can zoom in as far as this will go out and it's complete lines, but it doesn't cut it.
I'm sure somebody's sitting at home going Control Z, P, Q, press all those together.
Tell
and
us.
Just tell us what the shortcut is.
I know but you can draw one, it'll be fine. Next one, it'll do this. I just can't get my head around it. But
anyway,
I don't use it very often. Is the problem?
No, that's the problem. We don't use it every day. We use it every few months, and then it.
Well, a bit more than that, but you know, and we're getting old.
Well, I say that I've used it twice this year, so you know that's my excuse.
Anyway, this is going to work fine now. Move back then.
Don't make sure your tea doesn't get plasmid.
Yeah, something like that.
It's missed the first 2 stages, isn't it? Imagine that. Oh no, it's alright. That looks better. Well, it looks promising. Yeah. And there's 1 cut piece. Got a bit of tidying up to do on the edge there where it did the lead in. So I'll file that smooth, we'll tidy the holes up, get it bent and hope it fits because I don't want to go through all that again. Let's do this last bit. Don't mess it up now. That'll do. Well, it's certainly not the fastest thing I've ever made, but it's definitely done the job. Pretty happy with that, you know. It's only taken me a whole day.
1 bracket a day, Jay.
Yeah, bracket.
1 bracket a day, Jay.
1 bracket a day. Oh well, tomorrow we'll do this bracket. This contraption now has to be attached to this before we set the depth. Of course, going round to see Craig, but he came round. Yeah. We're going to try and stick that in the lathe.
How our work was.
Come on, what?
Come see how our work was.
It came out alright, didn't it?
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right, lathe.
Is it about here?
Yeah, past the spline. Well, yeah, I guess. Oh, not that far. just make sure we got enough so that it's not a sloppy fit in the... Yeah, about there. It'd be nice if that tape was solid. It'd make it a bit...
not.
It's not. It's hollow, isn't it?
It'll be formed down.
That's a pain. While Craig's whizzing that down on the lathe, I'm just going to blast the coating off this so it's nice to weld. Nice. We're in business.
Perfect.
That'll do. Let me go and make a mess of it on the welder then.
It's blasted all right as well, isn't it?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that go, just warm that and cool it. I mean, that's
Pretty
tight
tight.
to there, so if you chuck that in the freezer for 10 minutes or half hour.
Or just hit it.
Or just tap it in. What am I thinking, Jay?
I'm just going to beast it in with a hammer and weld it up. Sweet, thank you very much. I'll ruin the bearings now with the welder. We're on to the fine adjustments.
I come back with me annoying spirit level.
Yes, you and your spirit level wrecking my day.
Nah, this is sick, dude. You've done an amazing job with this, and yeah, the rack is kind of perfectly set for the same amount of steering lock left and right on this car. We don't want to have to adjust at the rack if the steering wheel's off, and because of the size of the splines on this section here, they're really coarse splines.
Yeah,
so if you were to take that off and try and reset it, you'd move the wheel by, I don't know, 40 degrees.
And there's no adjustment on the back of the motor because that's like a D-shaped thing.
Yeah.
And the one at the bottom has a flap for a bolt to go through, so there's no adjustment there either. So,
Yeah. So we just
got to get this perfect.
Yeah, as perfect as we can. Like, there's just nothing ideal to measure off, unfortunately. And ultimately, my eye's the problem, so I might as well just set
Do it to your eye, yeah.
Yeah, because the centre marker on this isn't exactly perfect. It's, about...
Have you measured it?
No, I can see it.
Oh, right, okay.
Laser eye.
Laser eyed it. What about if one of your eyes is a bit wonky?
They definitely are, but it doesn't matter. I always see through the same eyes. So yeah, no, I'm happy with that, dude. If you want to
Mark
some
that.
MIG at my knees or something.
Oh, I don't want to MIG it. We'll wheel the real welder over.
Excellent.
All right.
Now that you're a professional.
Well, yeah, I enjoy that one. Doesn't make a mess.
Loving your work anyway, bud.
Thanks. Since this bit has to be perfect, I've made the effort and wheeled the Arctic over to the car just to wheel it back again, but I've got a couple of good tacks on it. I'm 50% sure that it's going to come off without falling apart. Over to the welding bench. Well, it didn't exactly go to plan. As I was welding this, the top bearing exploded and all this spring-loaded stuff came out. What I have learnt is how it comes apart now, which is nice. And all I need is one of these plastic retainers to fix it. So I've ordered another column off eBay because it seems it's not available separately. This is the one off the bottom race, and luckily they're split and you can snap them on. So I'll get this all apart now, finish welding the two plug holes, and we'll carry on as we were. I love it when a plan doesn't come together. So we've got a new column, new used column. Turns out the motor's the same, controlling's the same, but everything else on it is different. You've got to love the French for a revision or whatever you would call it. Change of supplier, who knows, but it's not the same. I've managed to salvage this, I think. So we've got the bearings out of this one machined onto the old spindle. We've got a new tube here which has been machined to take said bearings. Top one and bottom one pushes in, held in with a snap ring. I think it's time now to go back over to the car because there's been some more revisions to that as well. Phil wanted a bit more adjustment in the tilt, so the up and down of where the wheel is here. And to get that right, I've had to come forward to the next bolts, and that means remaking the rear bracket, so I'm going to do that next. Ta-da! Let's fold it and hope it fits. There we go. Back to where I was a day ago. And on to the last bracket. All we have to do now is attach this tube to the column here. I'm going to, hopefully, if I can design it right, do a bracket that's got multiple holes so we can adjust the reach a bit. But this is the position that Phil left it yesterday when he was sat in the car. So this is going to be the main position. Well, this is going to be the position that I'm going to aim for. Let's get the measuring equipment out, see what I can come up with. There's the plans. Hopefully I've measured it right. It's only about, what time is it? 10:15. Might be a bit early for Craig to be out of bed, but I'll go and have a look and see if we can cut it. As suspected, the old man is still in bed. I thought I'd have a look at the wiring while I'm waiting for him to get up. You have to run one of these aftermarket controller boxes to get these steering columns to work. We had one on the Mark II column the same, although I think it's a different part number at least. Not sure if the other one would have worked or not, but this plug's different. So we've just got power and ground to the red and black. The grey and yellow go to the adjustment knob, which we can put wherever we want, and the other one plugs into the control unit on the steering column. Easy as that. Almost there now. We've got the adjustment knob sort of attached to the column, but that's where it's going to go. I've soldered that joint because it never really needs to be disconnected. Crimped on the Deutsch pins to those two. That's plugged in. I'll put the plug on, tape it up, and we'll put a power and ground to the control unit here and see if it does anything. Right, getting better. I've temporarily put this wire up to there. We don't have the right connectors for in here, so it's just on big spades at the moment. So if anybody out there knows where you get the correct connectors or has a loom that can cut the connectors off with a little bit of a pigtail for us to attach to, that would be ideal. But in the meantime, this should power it. Now, to run the steering on this thing, you need the engine running, just because of the way the PDM works. Trying to save a bit of power while it's cranking, not having the steering running. So let's just make sure it's in neutral. It says it is. Please don't shoot off the ramp, and we'll see if it works. That's not doing a fat lot. Better investigate that. Okay, that just looks like brake fluid that might have been spilt. Well, hopefully it's just brake fluid that we spilt when we were doing the brakes last week or the week before, because it hasn't been ran since. And then in here, the steering's not working, which, you know, ideal. I've checked, the controller is getting power and ground through the plug that I've just put on. So for testing purposes, I'm going to remove the fact that it needs the engine running because the car stinks. It's raining and cold outside and I don't want the door open. So we'll delete that, we'll put it back afterwards. So now with the ignition on, it should power the steering. Okay, we're in business. It was just a bad connection off the spade connector onto the ground, so we definitely need the correct pins. If anybody out there's got some, or the correct connectors, if anybody out there can point us in the right direction of them. That's maximum assistance. Let's see how much minimum assistance is. At feels very light. I don't know what it feels like. Shopping car, that's how I would describe how light that is. Anyway, I better get all this tightened up before I wrench the thing off the column. Good news, I measured it right. Fits on there, beautiful. I'm going to take it off, weld up these sides, and then we'll wheel the welder over and we'll tack this in place, because this distance between the mounting surface and here is very important, even though I've got that much adjustment now. Once again, I've made the effort to bring the welder over to the car for this last joint. I don't think I'd ever get it right by marking it, so I'm going to tack it here, and then we'll get it back on the bench, and I'll hope that it doesn't move too much while welding it finally. I can't go too mad here because this has a plastic bearing carrier in it, a bit like the one that exploded last time. So I'll go gentle and hopefully not melt anything. And we're finally there. 3 brackets, days later. One thing left. Let's take it all off, give everything that needs a coat of paint a coat of paint. We can put it back together for one final time. It's been a while since we had a biscuit break. It's been, well, what year are we on now? 24, 4 years since the dark old days, but greatest biscuit of all time. I had to highlight it. Bit of etch. Nice.
So Jay's been doing an absolutely incredible job, and it looks incredible. Where we have the ultimate demonstration of power.
Yeah, that's how light the steering is. It's like it's not connected to the front wheels.
That is, yeah, fairly different. Yeah, to be clear, the Mark II version of that, you would be absolutely fighting it static on this ramp. So the ability to turn it with just the column.
Yeah, that's
maybe we're onto something. Yeah.
We'll do the next bit.
Yeah. So the next bit is because we've now got the power back. I'm hoping that I can have my steering ratio back. We have some MRT knuckle adapters on this that I spent a huge amount of time adapting to optimize them within a 17-inch wheel to give the best roll center and the best bump steer correction. And then I had to back pedal because it had increased the steering speed, which obviously increases leverage force on the motor to the point that it almost immediately overwhelmed it. And it kind of was the only real downer to this car on our little Nürburgring trip, because it just literally, you get like just a few corners into it and then I'd have to wrestle the car the whole way around. So yeah, we're going to go back to my fully optimized MRT higher steering ratio setup, and then the car's finished forever and ever and ever.
Wow, maybe until you go to Anglesey next time.
We know that ain't happening. I'll invent the next thing soon, don't you worry.
Yeah. I'll quickly try and show you what Phil was talking about. This is the this here, if I can get my finger to work properly. This is the MRT bump steer adapter. It also has the option to make the steering quicker by moving the tie rod from this location here, where it would be standard, back to here. So it just means the distance between the pivot and the tie rod is closer, and that means the speed in which this moves is quicker. Quite a nice bit of kit. We have featured it in videos before, so we won't go too in depth into it. And because we moved this point quite a long way, I've had to shorten the tie rods massively. So back on the alignment gear, and that's that job complete.
You're just having a nice rest after all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bit of a mission.
I mean, everything we touched had to be moved, obviously.
Yeah. We did know it was a big old unit as soon as it turned up. But
I mean,
yeah,
we've been putting it off, to be fair.
we have. But I mean, touch wood, I'm not going to curse ourselves so far, but the fact that it can completely overwhelm any kind of grip on those tyres on this relatively sticky ramp and turn the steering wheel with ease, I'm hopeful.
Yeah, I mean, are we going to do it now? It's all back together. Give it a minute to warm up.
Yeah, and the fact that it looks like super posh, apart from this bit, which probably needs a cover or something.
So if we adjust it all the way to easy, I bet you could do it with one finger.
Wow. Yeah, and obviously, that's not what I want.
Your granddad arms.
Yeah, I'm perfectly capable of muscling a car around track to a degree. The issue is that with the caster that we run on this, the grip and everything like that, it just doesn't work very well on track for some reason. It ends up being very tiring. So yeah, the point of this is not to make super light steering, it's to make electric power steering that remains consistent and doesn't fail after the second corner of the Nürburgring. So I think I'm, like I say, quietly optimistic, but until we test it on track, which is probably Anglesey in November we're doing, I won't actually know. But all I do know is that Jay's done an awesome job. Can't thank you enough.
That's all right, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I think the fact that we've finally got you doing a fair bit of CAD and using Craig's plasma as well.
Yeah, I mean, I struggle with that more than anything else, the CAD thing.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's all part of learning, isn't it? And making use of the tools that we've got available to us. So thank you to Craig for letting us mess about as well. Well worth it as far as I'm concerned. And, massive upgrade on the car. We think. We'll wait and see.
Well, it feels like one.
It certainly does. So yeah, thank you very much to Jay. Thank you very much to Craig. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks to you guys for shopping at driftworks.com as always. Everything that you buy from the shop goes towards supporting my ability to do dumb stuff with cars and employ Jay.
And my ability to eat.
Yeah. So it's always much appreciated, no matter what it is. We're the biggest BC racing distributor in the UK. We're the main HSD coilovers distributor. We've sold 200,000 sets of wheels, something like that. People just don't realise the scale of what we do here. But yeah, even if you're just buying a t-shirt, it's all much appreciated. So yeah, catch you in the next one, guys. Thank you.